Let's check for any more check-ins, and then we'll continue. K2RP with Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. Who'd like to get on the early list? Call now. Oh, a little quiet here, so maybe I'll say a few words. Our host tonight is John, K6KOI, and I have the preview of his topic. He says, what mistakes have you made in tuning, operating, repairing, or modifying your vintage stuff? Note the disjunctive or only one example. One example only. Please try to think of something that might benefit others from making the same mistake. To give an example, he'll give his own example next time. Tonight we're working the Collins KWM2, Collins microphone up to a Kenwood 922A alpha amplifier and a G5RV. So I hope everybody can hear me. Let's go through the list again, and let's start with AK6R. Then, excuse me, Dennis DQ and Lisa are the next two. Then WB6RLC Glenn, and then back to me. Take it away, Bob.
Yeah, K2RP in the group, AK6R. Very good. Well, I just heard a snap when I hit that touch switch here, so hopefully we're doing okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, it looks like it. Hello, radio. Yep, yeah, we're okay. Anyway, we're on the CSA 30 tonight and driving a Ameritron AL 1500 going up into a 160-meter off-center-fed dipole, which we designed about a year ago. It's been a very, very good antenna on different bands. So I was just trying to think what was the last gear I worked on for answering the question tonight, and I spent so much time designing antennas and doing that. I'll probably talk about those a little bit, and maybe noise in the radio systems. I tend to concentrate on things outside the circuits, and let younger people do that these days. So there's my answer. Anyway, over to you, Dennis. I know you're still playing with the insides. W6DQ, AK6R. Happy anniversary, too.
Why, thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. AK6R and the group, W6DQ. And Kevin, thank you for that as well. The anniversary wishes. Yeah, we had a great weekend up on the Kern River. And yeah, I've got a great answer for the question tonight, and it's a pretty recent one too. It's like, yikes! Yeah, I've still got my hands in the working on the Collins S-Line stuff and all of that, and a few other things that I'm working on here. Still some gear from Max KJ6HN's estate. Try to get a couple other radios working that are still pretty messed up. One of them's a TR7 that's absolutely befuddling me, so I've got to figure out what's going on with that one. I'd like to get it sold. Maybe have it ready by, hopefully get it working by the time we all meet down at Ron's and everybody down there in May. I look forward to that. But, yeah, we were up on the Kern River, and it's funny, it's not that far away from us. It's just over the mountain from where we live here. It's about an hour and a half drive to where we stayed, and we were surprised to see a lot of the mountain roads were open after it's been a pretty mild winter, and we've had a real early summer, so a lot of the roads have been opened up. Ones that aren't supposed to open up until May were actually open, but we tried to take the shortcut over the mountain to come back to home, today and got blocked by snow. They had the road open, the gates were open, but they hadn't cleared the snow off the road. And if I'd had my truck, I wouldn't have had any problem doing it. But Lisa's family car, not going to work in the snow. So snow and ice. So I didn't want to do that. But we had a good time anyway. And what we were talking about was being buzzed by F-18s flying up the canyon. They do a lot of training from both China Lake and Lemoore. I think it's Lemoore out in the Central Valley, the Navy base out there. They do a lot of training in the valley here where we were. And boy, one came through the other morning. He sounded like he was right on the deck. It was really amazing. Rattled everything off the walls in the motel room. Anyway, over to Lisa, KF6QNG from W6DQ.
Okie doke. Well, don't have a whole lot more to add, so next few days will be unpacking, getting everything squared back away at the house, and we're lucky that we have our next door neighbor that comes and looks in on the cats, even though they have an automatic feeder and water fountain, but still nice to know that someone checks in on them, make sure they're okay, and anyway, gives her a break from her routine at home because we have more channels than she does, so she gets to watch things she doesn't get to watch at home. So it's kind of a win-win for all sides. And anyway, so looking forward to the roundtable tonight and the answers to the questions. So back over to you, Glenn, WB6RLC from KF6QNG.
Thank you, Jeff. Glenn here, WB6RLC, Cathedral City. I don't know if this might be good. Well, I'll use a little more mic here. Hello, radio. Hello, I don't know. Anyway, so not a whole lot to add to anything. Still putting in a couple of days a week at the Palm Springs Air Museum. We've got one of our Mustangs up and running. I can talk about non-vintage things because we're not officially checked in. So anyway, he blew an engine about 6 or 8 months ago. And let me tell you, that was an expensive proposition for him because he owns the airplane, but we sell rides in it. And but I get to do little things. I set up in the cockpit, and when they cycle the landing gear, I get to do that. Or I needed a new BNC fitting on the end of a coax cable, and got to do that, and some other little wiring things to correct them, and little things like that. Then working on Walt Disney's Gulfstream 1, just doing cleanup stuff. Most of my electrical stuff's already done for that, but now I'm cleaning up lighting fixtures and getting them ready to get painted, and little things with the little personal light and the oxygen mask and the little air vent thingy, so I'm cleaning all those up and getting them ready to get painted and stuff like that. So a little bit at a time, so it's going to be ready probably by fall for everybody to come take a look. Anyway, back to you, Ron. K2RP, WB6RLC.
Okay. Well, first of all, Lisa and Dennis, I was remiss by not wishing you a happy anniversary the first time around. I'm trying to get set up with my list here, but many more. One thing we do want to talk about is May 2nd, Saturday, is our barbecue here in Encinitas, co-hosted by K6KOI and myself. The only ones I had a hard RSVP were Dennis and Lisa. We'll be glad to see them, and hope we'll get a few more. So when it's your turn, if you give us an idea whether you're coming, you think you're coming, or wouldn't be seen at it, either way, give us a call. Anybody else want to get on the list for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable? Call now.
WA9JIP, WA9JIP.
WA9JIB, I got him. Anybody else? You know, I think everybody read the topic of the night, which involves people who goofed up on things and didn't want to admit it. Or maybe that's why they're laying low. Let's see, let's go to the next four. Let's do it quickly. We only got a few minutes left. N6KN is Rocco, of course. There's WA6JKN, N6AF, and let's see, then W6WUH, and then back to me.
Okay, Ron, this is N6KN, and hello to everybody again. And let's see, I'm not ready to answer that question until KOI gets on here, right?
Yep, you can plead the fifth.
Yeah, well, I will admit to, I'm capable of making dumb mistakes. I'm capable of making smart mistakes, too. I don't specialize. No lack of mistakes. Anyway, yeah, congrats to Dennis and Lisa, and let's see here. Hello to everybody else. And conditions are really good tonight, I must say. All right, WA6JKN, take it away from N6KN.
Sorry about that. I grabbed the wrong microphone. That's the problem with having too many rigs. Got to get this squared away here. Anyway, I'm on the, what is this rig? This is an ICOM 737, I think? Yeah, something like that. 1990, 1987 vintage or something like that. I don't remember. And the TL922 Alpha amplifier, which has been a workhorse for many, many years. Okay, so has the net started? That's the only thing I'm confused on. Should I tell my story of my big mistake? Over?
No, I think hold on for John. He'll be introducing them.
Okay, yeah. So there's my my operator mistake. Very good. Well, all is well here, and yeah. Diane and I, we celebrated our 50 years anniversary in Texas this past July, and we had a blast out there. And you think about it. I got to tell you one thing real quick. My son-in-law has one of these machines that can make these vinyl things you can stick on the back window of your car. So he made a vinyl lettering, very italics or whatever. It said "just married," and just below that it said 50 years ago. And I'll tell you, driving down heading towards the east on I-40, we had a lot of truckers and cars beeping their horn and giving us the thumbs up. But this one place we stopped for gas, somebody noticed and went inside the market there, tied to the gas station, and said that somebody's out there with a thing that said "just married 50 years ago." So Diane and I, we got out of the car, we put the pump thing in and went in real quick to get some coffee. And when we walked in, everybody inside that market clapped for us and said congratulations. Man, oh man alive, you think like no one ever makes it to 50 years. But anyway, we did, and we're proud of it. Okay, let's get it over to, I think the next one on the list is
Chuck, N6AF, WA6JKN. And did you say 40 miles? Are you serious? Man, you're doing good, my friend.
Yeah, I think I said 40 miles. 41, 2. So for some reason, my power seems to drop off. 1, 2. One second. Hello. That's a little better. I don't know why it's doing that. Maybe my bird watt meters. I see. Hold on. Sorry. 1, 2. Okay. Yeah, when the bird watt meter was acting up for the birds. N6AF. Yeah, I'll save my minor and major mistake stories for the regular roundup. But I was going to say, congratulations, Dennis and Lisa. That's great. You know, I just had kind of a morbid thought, 50 years of marriage, in some cases, you don't make it that far because somebody, unfortunately passes away. And I've been, my wife and I, she knows my habits well, good and bad. We've been around each other since 1980. I met at Harris. There, she was on the drafting table, using vellums to make printed circuit boards of some of my designs. Way back then, doing it that way. Anyway, I was going to say, Dennis and Lisa, I like the remote area anniversary venue. That's great. We like Pinnacles National Park. They're a little bit inland from Monterey with the condors. There's no cellular. You get out there south of Morgan Hill on Highway 25, I think it is, and there is no cellular. And there's one meek Wi-Fi at the ranger station. So you see people in the morning, the internet junkies, clustered around there in the morning cold, holding their coffee cups and staring at their iPhones. Kind of looks like you're in, it's the outdoor version of Starbucks. Any day of the week. W6WUH N6AF.
N6AF in a group, W6WUH. Yeah. Well, congratulations, everybody. We celebrated 40 years last November, but you guys got another decade on us. I'm going to bail out of here. I got nothing to say tonight, but take care. K2RP W6WUH. Okay, good. Johnny, you ready to take the list? I just walked into the shack, and so I've got a clean piece of paper, a pen, and I'm ready to go. Okay, the last two just came in, and we haven't had a chance to hear from them, but you can use use this list and just remember there's two on the end. Okay, number one is AK6R. Bob, AK6R. W6DQ, Dennis, and his faithful KF6QNG, Lisa. Glenn, WB6R, LC. And I'm going to stick myself in there. You caught up with us? Yeah, just go a little bit forward. Okay. Next one is Rocco, N6KN. N6KN. And WA6JKN. N6AF, Chuck. W6WUH, who may not be there. He was talking about having to go, so try him. The next two we have not heard from yet. K6LGL, Skip. And last but not least, WA9JIB. And it's kind of a short list. I think everybody's afraid that you're going to embarrass them on their goofs. but I did not get much of a chance to talk about the barbecue, so you may want to start out with them. You need any fills?
No, I don't have any fill on the list. Sorry.
I could say something more.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to.
Charlie Victor Alpha, standing by.
Whiskey 6. Gotta get my pen back. W6 Charlie Victor Alpha.
Roger that. Whiskey 6 Charlie Victor Alpha. I forgot all about it tonight.
Okay, and your name is Roger, right?
Roger that. Roger, Roger.
Okay, Roger. Roger that. Okay, anybody else?
WJ6W.
Okay, you guys are going too fast. First one was K6 Lima. I'm sorry, do it again. Was it LXG?
Bravo 6. Delta. Lima X-ray Golf.
I'm too slow. WB6DXG, right? Help me out here.
I think it's LXG suffix.
WB6 Lima X-ray Golf.
Got it. And then somebody else was in there.
WJ6W.
Hi, Dave. WJ6W. Got you, and I think I heard another voice.
Whiskey 7 Charlie Uniform.
Whiskey 7 Charlie Uniform, and what's the name? Whiskey 7 Charlie Uniform, what is your name?
The name's John.
Oh, fine name indeed. Hey, anybody else? Wow, so the list did grow. I think, Ron, you challenged them when you said that, they just didn't want to talk about their goose. You got them going. Good for you. And I'm not sure what you want me to say about the barbecue. You announced it, and I think that's a good thing. I just hope that everybody can make it. Okay, so this is John, K6KOI. Welcome everybody to the Vintage Sideband Roundtable. I'm located in Del Mar, and wouldn't you know it, the noise just started. God, that's annoying. But this rig has got a good noise blanker. Maybe it'll take it out. Anyway, I'm the host this evening, and the station I'm using is a Hurricane. It's a Helicrafter's SR2000, which has a darn good noise blanker in it. And it looks like I'm going to be needing it. I may just send a message to my neighbor and ask him to cool the lights for about an hour. He's got some lights that are very noisy. Anyway, we meet each Tuesday evening at or near this frequency, 3895. I think that's where we are. And we should all be using equipment that was manufactured on or before 1999, but we do appreciate it when you have earlier equipment like, before 1981, for example. And homebrew equipment with equivalent technology also would be fine. Okay, and first-timers may use the modern equipment, but I don't know that there are any first-timers. Okay, so that's the prologue to this thing. And the question, which I think has already been maybe discussed a little bit, I just walked into the room, so I'm not sure of that, but I think so, is what mistakes have you made in tuning, operating, repairing, or modifying your vintage stuff, vintage equipment? And there is a disjunctive in there of or, implying that it's pick one of those. So, unless it's a real short one, just pick one so we have enough time for everybody in terms of whether it is tuning, operating, repairing, or modifying. Okay, with that, over to AK6R. Bob, you're number one on the list, and then Dennis, W6DQ, KF6QNG, Lisa, and WB6RLC, Glenn, and then back to me, please. Over to you, Bob.
Are you going to put K2RP on the list?
I've got him as 1, 2, 3, 4, number 5.
Okay, I just want to make sure you didn't forget him, because sometimes you put him number 1. Okay, K6KOI with a great signal tonight, AK6R here in Fallbrook.
where it's just cooling off a little bit, so it's pretty nice. Well, tonight we're running the TSA 30 going into a Maritron AL 1500 and being driven by a fancier mic. We're using a PR40 modified and for the TSA 30. And we're driving a 160 meter off-center fed antenna up about 40 feet, 270 feet of wire. And it's got a little bit of gain on 80 actually, because it's twice as long. Almost as long as Dennis's loop, but wavelength-wise, that is. So, well, that's a good question tonight. You know, like I said before, I haven't put my fingers inside the radios for a long time. I've been working more about working with how do I put 5 radios into one antenna, or how do I put six or 7 antennas into multiple radios? And it's a challenge to do that and to not take or bring noise with you all the time when they're all together. So, just as an example of what I did once was, I think I put 5 radios going into a antenna switch, and the antenna switch was broken. So I was transmitting one signal from one radio right into another radio, and fortunately it was low power, so it wasn't too bad. But I've learned since then to make sure you test out the conduction of different connectors. And in particular, there's one other thing that I've learned, and that is the use of common mode noise filters. And if you have 5 radios and going through an antenna switch, going into a linear, for example, you're only switching the centers, not the outside. So if you're picking up noise on radio 1, but you're using radio 3, that noise goes right through your signal and receive and transmit. So isolate them if you can, and it's the same with antenna switches. I was for a long time, I have an antenna here next to my neighbor with a solar system on it, and he's noisy all day long. And so I had, I think I have about 8 antennas going into one switch, and I was using antenna number 1, but the noise was coming on antenna number 6, which was the one next to the solar system. And the reason is because, again, you're only switching the centers, you're not switching the outside. So, in effect, I have 9 receive antennas, and as soon as you isolate them, the problem goes away, and you can start hearing people again. And just a little hint, it's not a goof, but it's something that's overlooked quite a few times. Anyway, over to Dennis. I'm sure he's got some ideas about inside radios, so looking forward to hearing that. W60Q to take it from AK6R.
Okay, Bob, very good. AK6R and the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable, W60Q here. Dennis, out here in Inyo-Kern, where it's currently 84 degrees after a high of 93, but we weren't here to experience that. We just got back today from a 4-day trip. See, tonight we're running, we're back on the KWM 380. That's driving the Alpha 87A, and that's pushing out through a Palstar HF Auto Tuner, through a Ballon, out through a ladder line fed horizontal loop that Bob was referring to. It's 540 feet of wire at 50 feet in the air, and that's what we're using as an antenna. Bob, by the way, when you're doing antenna switching like that, use a switch that grounds the unused terminal. That solves that problem too, I believe. That's what I do here. Anyway, Chuck is going to appreciate this one, because when this happened, I was thinking of you, man. I was thinking of something that you talked about. In your case, you were hooking up a 516F2 power supply to, I believe, your KWM2, and the index pin on the plug was broken. It actually had been on the socket. It is the plug. It's the chassis mounted side was broken off, and so you kind of have to eyeball the pins to line them up. Well, I get that. I totally understand that. I've run into that before, but if you're really, really careful, you don't have problems. What I hadn't run into before was doing the same thing, plugging in a 516F2 to a KWM2, and it wasn't quite lined up. That's the index pin was there. It wasn't broken off. The index pin was there. And so I'm still not sure how it was able to do it, but it cross-connected. And there was a big flash, a bang, and, radio's dead. Thankfully, all that really happened, I lost about half a dozen vacuum tubes, because I think it put line voltage across their filaments, and the tubes are in the Collins rigs. The tubes are arranged in different strings, so you can run the radio at different voltages. The filaments can run at 6 volts, 12 volts, 24 volts, depending on how you've got the cables wired up. It's kind of a clever way they've done that. But if you missed that one pin, and I probably put 115 volts on one line of filaments, and it took those poor guys out. And I saw it visually. One of the, it was a, what was it? I want to say it was a 60-weight that lit up like it really lit the tube up when the filament went. But, I just pulled out all the tubes, checked them all, and found the bad ones and replaced them. And everything was okay. Didn't hurt the radio at all. So that was a good thing. But one of the things I've changed since then, I have a 516F2 and a remodeled PM2. It's the guts of a PM2 sitting on the workbench as my bench supplies for working on these radios. And they are now on switches, and I always switch them off before I connect or disconnect the radios. And so that was a lesson learned, and this just happened recently. This lesson learned. I make sure that the power supply is not plugged in, or I've got the workbench, it's switched off. So there you go, Chuck. I know you went through that yourself, but for a little different reason. And it's interesting that I didn't know you. I never knew that I could get that thing in there crooked, but I sure managed to do it. Anyway. Ron, thanks for taking the earlies this evening, and John, thanks for blessing us with a great question. And with that, I'm going to send it over to Lisa, KF6QNG, and the Vintage Sideband Roundtable, W6DQ. And oh, by the way, thank you all for the congratulations on the anniversary. Take it away, Lisa.
Okay, well, thank you. And let's see, question of the evening? Oh, I don't have one, so I don't work on radio. So Dennis gets the honor of doing that. So anyway, thank you to all for the happy anniversary wishes. By the way, it was number 7 for us. So anyway, it was really great. Great weekend, as we said. The restaurants are closed up in Kernville on Mondays because they're open on the weekends. So our anniversary was Monday, so we just did our anniversary dinner on Sunday night instead. So it was all good. And we got to see some, like I said, beautiful scenery in that. And so it was all good. It was different having no TV and no internet. So what we did is I had suggested maybe we buy a game. Didn't think of bringing one because anyway. So we bought Monopoly, and gosh, I haven't played Monopoly in probably at least 35 years probably. So anyway, it was pretty good, and so Dennis won, of course, but yeah, anyway, so, which was kind of funny, but anyway, we had a good time, and whiled away the hours, and then we could each go back to our separate phones and games on our phones, so there you go. But anyway, okay, that's it for me. Thank you, John, for hosting tonight. And I'm going to send it over to Glenn. Oh, no, sorry, it goes back to Ron. No.
Ron?
Yeah, I did that earlier.
Oh, okay.
Right. When we were in the early session. WB6RLC from KF6QNG.
Alrighty, KF6QNG, WB6RLC. Right here, Cathedral City. Let's see, next work over from Palm Springs for the Desert Week. Rick tonight is a Heathkit hot water 5400 with the matching power supply and speaker, etc. Sure 40-44 mic up to an off-center fed dipole at 32 feet. The Kern River, yeah, my dad and I used to go trout fishing there and stuff like that, just right below the dam and all that. So, yeah, it's a pretty area. But anyway, let's see. Question of the evening. I don't know, I've been thinking about it a few times. So the usual stupid stuff of putting in wrong components or something. But probably, I don't know, troubleshooting a receiver in this particular case. While it's on and hot, because, you're pumping around looking for a problem, trying to align it or do something. But, using metal tools. And so I was using a metal tool poking around in this big receiver. I think it was the SP600, and something went and then the radio went. And whatever I did it good, because it really screwed up something. It took me a while to figure it all out, if I ever did, I think. Anyway, so that was about it. Just poking around in a hot rig with metal tools. That'll get you every time. So anyway, let's see. I guess it goes back to that. Yes, WB6RLC.
Very good, Glenn. K6KOI. I copied you, but your signal was a little bit close to the onerous noise that we're experiencing here. Well, I had a very selfish reason for this question, because I felt like I could learn from other people's experience and get some good ones. And Bob, AK6R, I took notes on your comments because I do use many coax switches here. I use alpha delta cavity switches. They do have a ground position, but they don't, to my knowledge, they don't ground all the unused positions. They only have a very vertical position, which is ground in case there's bad weather or whatever. So that's really interesting information. And let's see. So Dennis, you're as usual putting in a good, strong signal. Really quite good. And I appreciated your comments. I do have to say congratulations to you and Lisa on anniversary number 7. I've got you beat by 51 years, but hey, who's counting? And so let's see. Let's think the next 4, and that would be KRP, Ron. M6K and welcome back. And WA6KK, whose name I don't know, but I'm going to tell you. It always sucks.
Okay, very good. I'm thinking about this whole story about how you can screw things up. The one that comes to mind was a few years ago. I was on the Classic Exchange contest where the object is to run as many rigs as you can. And I had a big paper with all different rigs on it. It was the CW contest. So we had to move the antennas over on a switch and move the keys and everything. I pulled the key out of I guess it was a C4XT, to use on a different rig, forgetting that when you pull the key out of it, it shorts out the key. And of course the power was still on, and it was drawing full current until I smelled something, saw smoke coming out of the T4XB. Fortunately, it just blew the finals out of it, which is expensive enough. But that's the most foolish one that I remember. I'm very careful now. Turn the rig off before I pull the plug out of the key. If you guys are only outside there, it won't bother you, but for CW guys, it did. Lisa and Dennis, thanks very much for being around and sharing your anniversary with us. Say 7 years, I think. Dennis was saying it was 11 with the windshield factor. Is that true? Okay, let's see, who's supposed to get it next? I think was I think it's Joe Tobacco, is that correct? C2RP.
Yeah, I think it's me. Let me see, am I on frequency, Ron?
Close enough for government work.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Okay, well, here is one that I did recently that I didn't see coming, but it got me. And so I acquired, thank you, John, an LS210X, a 180, another 210. I think I've ended up with 3 210Xs. Anyway, I found that most of the cards in these things can be swapped around between the radios. So I, get one working and then use those known 3 good cards to get the other radios working by swapping in the good cards and finding out where the bad players are. So I did this, and I had 3 radios sitting there. So basically 9 circuit cards, and at one point I realized that I had not marked the cards, and I had no idea which the working 3 cards were for any radio, and it took me a while to figure that out. And while doing that, I found out, if you are stupid and careless enough, that you can plug the, I think it's the PC100 card can go in where the PC300 card goes. And that's a mistake you do not want to make because the power pins are different. Anyway, plug-in circuit card, such an advance. Let's see, I'm going to give it to WA6JKN. Go ahead, and you give it to N6AF. Go ahead, JKN.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for that story. WA6JKN, I got a headset on. I usually use it for satellite operations, but I decided with all the noise on the bands that was easier to hear all the transmissions, because I wanted to hear everybody's story. This is an opportunity to learn a lot. Okay, now for my story. It's kind of a cross between ham radio and trying to recreate Frankenstein's laboratory. Okay, so here's the story. I had a spare BC610, and this was about 1967-68 time frame. I was just a young kid learning about ham radio, but the real interest I had was in science, and I forgot what program it was. Some professor was showing how to build, or he had a Jacob's ladder. So I said, I'm going to build one of those too. So I looked around and I go, I got a spare BC610. So I got a coat hanger. Matter of fact, I think I ended up with 2 coat hangers. I stretched them out. I hooked them up on the output terminal. I think it's like 2,000, 2,500 volts, half an amp or something like that. And put whatever the voltage was on the primary. I don't remember now, 120. Back in those days, I don't think it was 120, 115, 117. Well, anyway, the Jacob ladder was working fantastic. The sparks were, just flying up across the ladder, and this was at night. So from outside the garage, we had this window, and you could see this strange light. So my neighbor Brent, he was the same age as I was, he came over going, "What are you guys doing?" So we let him in, and we got to share our Jacob's ladder that we built. And we told him right then and there, Brent, do not get close to that thing. It will kill you, right? So, but his brain was overcome by the ozone smell coming off the Jacob's ladder, and it drew him into it, and it happened so fast as the Jacob's ladder went up, and he was sniffing the smell of the ozone, that Jacob's ladder sparked across his nose, and it threw him back against the wall on the other side of the room, and he was unconscious, and we slapped him around a little bit, tried to get him to come to, and he did, but I will tell you, he was never the same. We thought for sure we were going to be in big trouble. But we weren't, because his mom came over and said, whatever happened, he's a much better person now. And lo and behold, we were off the hook. But the story doesn't end there. He ended up with this creative mind that landed him a job with Steven Spielberg. And he made millions being one of his production managers. So that's my story, all from a BC 610. So there you go. Let's get it over to Chuck. N6AF, WA6JKN.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. And looks like the bird walk meter is moving, so I haven't made a mistake yet. N6AF. So I learned from my mistakes. And also, of course, I learned more fixing broken things and radios that work. But there was a time, I think I was 6 years old, and I climbed into the gorilla enclosure at the Los Angeles Zoo. And people were screaming, and I thought it was kind of cool down there. And the apex male gorilla, 900 pounds, lifted me up and handed me back over the railing right into my mother's arms. Now, if you believe that story, you've made a mistake. I did make a mistake once, though, that involved my mother. As a, I don't know, maybe, hadn't had my novice ticket yet, but so maybe it was around in the late 60s. And somehow I wrestled one of my dad's big speaker cabinets up onto the roof of our house over in the East Bay in Danville, and I hooked up this audio amp to it and used a tape recorder as the driver amp and started yelling into the microphone, and apparently was making it a quarter mile up the street in the neighborhood. My mom came rushing into the house screaming, "Charles, what are you doing? The whole neighborhood is coming down the street." So that was a true story. So anyway, on the radio front, as Dennis has joined the club, maybe we should make T-shirts and bumper stickers. I plugged in the power supply connector 1 pin off on the KWM2. So I did that. I use PM2 slide-on power supply, but I usually use it kind of up on its side, connected with a cable harness. And I know it's 11 or 12 pins, but I'll call it an octal socket. And the one on that particular PM2, it's so swaged out, it doesn't really recognize the keying bump on the on that harness. So I did, in fact, slide it in there, 1 or 2 pins off, and looking at the schematic, I don't think it was the 275 volts that I put onto the filament line in the KWM2. It might have actually been the AC power. In any event, I quickly converted 8 or 10 of those 6-volt filament tubes into fuses, and they worked well as fuses. It was excellent. And so that was a definite mistake. I've got it well marked now. It's at least visually keyed. I won't do it in the dark. But anyway, $100 on eBay for a set of tubes, and fixed that thing in as soon as I got the tubes a couple days later. The 6146s fortunately didn't burn out, but there you go. So watch that connector and stay out of that Gorilla enclosure. So moral of the story, lesson learned, double check your connections before applying power. There you go. So I believe back to you, John. K6KOI, N6AF, Gorilla Radio.
Gorilla Radio, K6KOI. Well, what an evening. We're going from BC610s to Gorillas. I like it. It's entertaining. And so Chuck and also Dennis, some years ago I had a KWM2, or maybe it was a 32S3, I can't remember which, but it used the same, the power supply that we're talking about. And one of those radios was missing the index, the center index, for plugging it in to the male side on the radio. And what I did, and it worked well, it's a very simple little solution, I got a marker pen and I marked the shell of coming from the power supply of the female side, and then marked a place on the radio where it had to align. And, I'm thinking about doing that after hearing the story of that Dennis had, where he had the index, but somehow it got misaligned. Anyway, just a thought. And let's see. So, Kevin, it sounds to me that what you might have there from that experience is a new scientific discovery of how to cure dementia. As I understand it, the Jacob's Ladder experience caused the guy to be very creative in a Spielberg companion and millions of dollars. And so just think about that. We're all getting up in age, so it'd be nice to dementia. And let's see, what else? Well, Rocco, I can identify with what you said. It hasn't happened to me, but I've been fearful of it. I must say that when I work on radios, I'm very, very liberal with my iPhone taking photographs before I disturb things to see, well, where did that wire go? Oh, let's look at the photograph. Okay, and then Ron, what movie? I love the smell of napalm in the morning, but your situation, it was burnt resistors. So sorry. Okay, let's go to W6WUH, K6LGL to follow, WA9JIB. Bob, welcome back from your illness. It sounds like you're doing fine. I hope you are. And turn it over to Roger, W6DVA, back to me, W6WH, if you're there, K6KOI. Well, somebody said he might not be there. So, Skip, goes to you, K6LGL.
Okay, thank you, John. K6KOI. Trying to clear my throat. K6 Little Green Light, just in Santa Monica, by the bay. Good evening, everybody. Good to hear. Pretty good signals from everybody. Well, my one bit of frustration was a couple of years ago, I got a hold of a relatively new and not too much used AF68 AM transceiver or transmitter with a built-in VFO, but it was designed for the 6146. And I thought this was a little minor re-engineering. I could shoehorn in the 6146B and get maybe another 3-4 watts output, and having a little higher gain version of the two.
And the way it is laid out and not really properly neutralized the way, for instance, the old Dixie 100 used by these kits and some of the others, there is really no form of neutralization available. So you got grid and cathode oscillation, and I just keep burning out the RF choke. You need to use probably within a different shielding, different bypass capacitor, and use shielded RF choke. So that was very, very frustrating. And decided that the way it's laid out and the optimum LC and so on, it's just too much of a compromise design. So decided it was not worth the effort, but they had to replace a number of RF tubes to 2.5 millihenries. And I tried even higher inductance and lower, and tried to change the LC somewhat. It didn't help very much. That's what happened. So I had enough frustration on that, and then similar problems with some linear amplifiers. Okay. Interesting comments from everybody. So it goes over to eBay box, WA9JIB, K6 green light, K6 LGL. Good evening, Paul.
Okay, K6LGL in the group. It's WA9JIB here in La Cañada. And well, it was a warm day, about a nice day. And yeah, thanks for the well wishes. Congrats to Dennis and Lisa. And yeah, my health is returning. Saw the doctor yesterday as a follow-up to my recent hospitalization. And he says, yeah, the edema is going away. My stats were, what, 120 over something nice and low. Heart rate of 51, and I was originally hospitalized for a heart rate of 170, so 51's good. Oxygen uptake 96%. So he took me off the oxygen yesterday, which was really nice because I really was starting to hate schlepping that tube around everywhere I went. And you know, so we'll have some follow-on visits with a cardiologist. But I had energy today. So things are looking pretty good, I think. Kevin, I really enjoyed your story there. Snorting electrons off a Jacob's ladder. That is definitely a new one on JIB. Okay, well, I've certainly created sparks from Hades and Let's Smoke Out, but the one I will tell you did not have a bad ending. But it was one of the dumber things I've done in a repair. I was working on my Helicrafter's SR150, which I should get back on the air one of these days, months, years. And was checking out a resistor, and it read way off value. As I think maybe I recall, it probably read low, which should have been a flashing red warning sign to me. But it wasn't. So I dutifully clipped it out of there and put in a replacement. No change at all. And so what I learned from this experience was that when you're doing in-circuit testing, you know, you might be, especially with a resistor, you might be in parallel with something. And the weird thing on this one is what it was in parallel with was one of the gain pots, which was nowhere near where it was on the circuit diagram. So it's not necessarily going to be close on the diagram. And, you know, the fact that normally if a resistor is going to fail, it's going to fail up in resistance, not down. So that should have been a real flag for me. But it wasn't, so as I said, it was one of the dumber things I've done. And no harm done, but, you know, I took a rig which was all original, and now I know there's a resistor in there that's not. So anyway, the only thing worse than failing at
failing to fix something that needs fixing is successfully fixing something that didn't need fixing in the first place. And that's my story. Over to W6TVA, WA9JIB.
Stopping up on WB9JRB, W6TVA here. You know, I got lost in the question. What was the question tonight?
What mistakes have you made?
Mistakes I have made. Well, I've made many of them. I'm sure we all have. Well, W6TVA here. Well, I put in capacitors in backwards, and I heard this pow, like a fizz and a pop. I was working on an old Wawasee frequency counter power supply, and for some reason I could have sure I followed the diagram, but then even the diagram was vague. And that's my first attempt in novice at this electronic stuff. I should have been better at it because I took it in high school, electricity, electronics. I should remember something, but I guess I forgot that page. Anyway, I think the thing I did was put the capacitor in the wrong for a 6 VAC down to 5 volts, and it blew up the capacitor. Quite a few of them. And then I did a power supply and replaced the resistor, and I forgot to put the lid on, and it blew up the resistor. So lessons learned, and that's quick. Back over to, I forget who got it, W6TV. Somebody's got the mic.
W6YEC.
George, you're on the list, and I think it goes to Rush, and then back to me. Rush, take it away, K6KY. Is he in there? Does anybody hear WB6LXC?
I don't hear him, John. I usually do.
Okay, well, we will skip him. And talking about Skip, I didn't copy you at all. Your signal is probably decent, but my noise level is really, really high, and so I can't comment on your comments because I didn't hear your comments. So Bob, again, congratulations on overcoming what sounds like a very difficult experience you had with your health, and I'm glad you're back. But you did remind me, you know, I gave my story in my email, so I'm not going to repeat that, which was a mistake that I made fairly recently. But a mistake that I made a long time ago, you just reminded me of it. There was a fellow who I can't think of his call sign now, this was several years ago, in San Diego. He's a Drake collector. I had an L7, he really wanted it. I picked it up, and it was working, but it showed all sorts of signs of having very weak electrolytics. So I thought, well, I'm just going to be a good guy. I'm going to replace, 6 or 8 of it, whatever it is, the string of electrolytics. And you know what? I got every one of them in properly, except for one, which was backwards. And there was a big bang at his house, and I was embarrassed. Okay, so with that, let's see. I think it goes to WJ6W, and then over to John W7CU, and then our friend George, who just joined us, W6YEC. And George, if you didn't get the question of the evening, it's like, what mistakes have you made other people could learn from? Over to you, Dave, K6KY.
Okay, John, K6KOI, WJ6W. Well, you might get the Golden Cup tonight, John, with that, about the L7. Okay. Well, yeah, interesting comments tonight. Yeah, Bob, it's good to hear you. You sound great, and just glad you're moving pretty rapidly, I guess, now towards normal, so that's good to hear. And congratulations, Dennis and Lisa, on your anniversary, and I guess going completely off-grid for your little getaway there. We kind of forget what that might be like. Be a little uncomfortable, I guess. But, of course, maybe that was your goal. But, yeah, we got so used to being connected, it's hard to give up. Anyway, my experience, I'm going to be the third person tonight with a KWM2 story that's exactly the same as Dennis
And I guess, who was it, Chuck? Sorry, I didn't write it down. Anyway, I plugged in the 516F2 to the KWM2, and the index key was there, it was present, so I didn't think there'd be a problem, but I think what happened was I probably was able to tilt the connector as I'm rotating it a bit, and it made contact. The 110 volts made contact with the filament line, and just like you, Dennis, I blew out I don't know how many tubes. A half a dozen sounds about right. And fortunately, it was an easy fix. I was sweating it. I didn't know what else might have been damaged, but it was the final and driver were okay, but there were some tubes in there that were bad. So with three of us having the same experience, that must have been a common screw up on the KWM2 or the S line. There must be many more stories like that. And I'm thinking maybe the Heathkit SB series, I think they had the same connector, a round connector, and probably a bunch of other radios. But anyway, fortunately it wasn't catastrophic for any of us, I guess. Okay, I'm going to send it, and I'm running a KWM2 tonight. I'm going to send it over to W7CU. John, it's your turn. WJ6W.
WJ6W in the group. This is W7CU, John in Oro Valley, Arizona. Good signals for the most part this evening, and I hope I'm audible. Running an S line tonight to SB200, Heathkit SB220. I'm sorry, linear amplifier. Well, I've made a lot of mistakes, and so it's kind of hard to narrow them down, but I'll give you a couple of quick ones. Both helicrafters. When I was young and foolish, I thought that the mute control was the same as the antenna switch. And I got away with that for a surprisingly long time, until finally, this was an HT32, I burned a transformer out in the front end of my SX, the matching receiver. And very fortunately, I was able to kind of very carefully solder that thing back together. And then more recently, I heard somebody on a hybrid rig tonight, a TSA-30. I had a Helicrafters FPM 300. And I fiddling around with it, changing capacitors, and I got the B plus from the tubes into the transistor portion of the radio, and that radio never played the violin again, and I was just sick. Anyway, that's the story. Next slide.
Did he turn it over to him? Did he turn it over, or did he just drop out?
I think he just dropped out. He went away.
Yeah, go ahead, George.
Okay, yeah. I think maybe your signal dropped out. Anyway, I got your comment, and I had an FPM representative Rockland, now the cryolator of it. So, Rockland, you had to be popped away from the transistor. Okay? Over to you, George. So just that's why you see this.
All right. Well, let's see if we're getting out here. This is the maiden running KWS-1 that I got, and I've been working on, and so I thought I'd put it on here tonight to see if I could get out with it. It looks like it's working, and I hope I'm zero beated. I've been having some muting problems here, and trying to figure out how he had this thing set up for keying and all that. Anyway, there's so many that we could choose from, but I was sitting here as I'm looking at this KWS-1, I was thinking my biggest mistake was getting rid of my KWS-1 in 7584 that I got back in the 80s from Norm Johnson. Oh, man, that was not the right move. Of course, I didn't know where things were going to go, but
in terms of things that you look back on and you kind of wish you hadn't have done that. That was one. But it was a good, I thought we just bought the house next door there, and my shack was small, and I was enamored with the KWS-1. I'd been using it, loved it, but I just needed an amplifier, so I traded that and the A4 to Bill, K6 TWO, for a beautiful SB220. That I used for quite a while. I don't know what he did. He sold that KWS-1 to somebody, and it used to belong to Boss Concert. That's what made it bad that I let it go. So let me just make an adjustment here on the ALC, bring this up a little bit. I'm not running a lot of power. I've got it tuned up probably to about 400 while we're trying it out here. By the way, for Dennis's edification, let me get the scope looking a little better. It looks like I'm driving it too hard. That should be a little better. Dennis, it ended up being the motor. So I went and ordered a new motor from Granger. I picked it up today and got it all back together. And lo and behold, I came out here to use it. I turned it on, and I didn't have any high voltage. So I, of course, grounded everything and took the high voltage fuse out and checked it, and it was good. Put it back in. It just was, I guess, a little corroded or something, and it started working again when I put it back in. So we're on here tonight, John. Thanks for picking me up. That's my story. KWS-1 here tonight, and the 75A4 receiver. So we'll give it back to you, KOI, W6YEC.
Well, George, it sounds really good.
I think you were
correct in backing up a little bit on the miking, but it just sounds fantastic. What type of mic are you using with the transmitter?
Yeah, it's a
D104 I've got on there. I've got a 664 wired up also, but this one I like because of the lever on the side of the D104. The other one that uses is a switch that's on the 664 that came with it. Anyway, a friend of mine just passed away. We lost him this weekend. K6 JHD. I've known him for years, and wanted Paul and I to clear out his radio room and take care of stuff. So that's how we ended up with it. Go ahead, John.
Okay, well, it's quite a history in terms of that rig. And for those that didn't know him, passed away, Norm Johnson was a cracker-jack engineer and builder, and anything he touched would be absolutely perfect after he got finished with it. So, yes, I can understand why you miss it, and miss having sold it, whatever. It qualifies as a mistake. I agree. So, talking about qualifying as a mistake, I'm going to give the Golden Cup Award to AK6R because the information you gave on common mode with multiple switches with multiple rigs hooked up, and I suppose we could have also multiple antennas involved, is something I'd never thought about. The noise travels down the shield, and the shield is connected amongst all those different rigs. Very interesting. So, do you have any words of wisdom or gratitude, or you could just put a check in the mail, but AK6R, K6KOI?
Well, K6KOI and the illustrious group here, I've enjoyed listening to everybody's in-circuit issues. This is Bob, AK6R. Well, thank you, John, for the Golden Cup. That was quite unexpected. And there was a comment by DQ, I think, about grounding the centers. Well, it's not the centers that are the problem. It's all of the braids that are in parallel with each other that never get switched. Because I think MFJ had one switch that they made during his lifetime that actually switched the braids and it switched the centers. But most of the time, the switches that we use only switch the centers, grounded or not, doesn't make any difference. It's the darn braid currents that are the problem, particularly on receive. And they all add up together. And you want to isolate those with a common mode noise filter prior to the switch. So I have an antenna switch here on my Flex with 16 antennas on it, and every one of those has got a common mode choke on it before on the coax before a little jumper that goes into the switch. And I tell you, I no longer have any noise issues with my solar noise antenna next door. Made a huge difference. So it's the same concept if you have multiple transceivers going into a switch. Every one of their braids are all together in that switch, and if you have noise generated on one particular radio, whether it's turned on or off doesn't make any difference. That noise will be transmitted to all the other ones. So every one of my radios has got a switch, got a noise filter off the back of the radio before it goes to the jumper that goes to the switch. Anyway, glad you learned something from it, and I bring that topic up every time I give a talk. I did it in Yuma last, and I got the similar type of comments. Well, gee, I never thought about that, and so I'm glad you did. Thanks, John. K6KOI, AK6R.
Well, thank you to you. That was really good information. Thanks for everybody. I picked up a lot of good information, and that's what this thing is all about. It really is. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, K6KOI.
Dennis and Lisa, I want to wish you congratulations on your anniversary. K6 River Green Light.
W6DQ, are you still there, Dennis? W6YEC?
The KW Sugar 1 sounds good there, George. Congratulations.